Welcome everyone to another Sales Hacker webinar. My name is Scott Barker, Head of Partnerships at Sales Hacker, and I'm lucky enough to be moderating this discussion today with two awesome guests. You'll have to forgive the background. I'm hotel living. I'm on the road this week. Literally just checked into my hotel about 2 minutes ago. But very excited for this topic. So this is a cool one. It's got some bold claims, I'll tell you. 10x your sales development team's productivity. So imagine what that could do for your business if you have your SDR team, your BDR team just firing on all fronts and being able to 10x that productivity. It's going to 10x your pipeline, 10x everything. So that's what we're diving into today. Quickly, before I do introduce my guests, really quick housekeeping items. Number one, if you've ever joined a Sales Hacker webinar, you know that we do these things for you, for the community. So we want to get you involved in the whole thing, every step of the way. So if you have any burning questions that is relevant to what we're discussing, please hop on. There's a little Q&A at the bottom. Introduce your name, your title, and what you're struggling with. And we'll do our best between our combined knowledge to answer your questions. And then even if you have not relevant questions, shoot them in anyway, and we'll leave some time in at the end for some Q&A. So anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, and these are recorded. So you will get this recording without fail. Every single time we do these, I get about probably 6 to 8 emails being like, hey, where's the recording? Where's the recording? It's coming. It takes us about 24 hours, but it's coming, I promise. All right, we got that out of the way. Now I get to introduce my amazing guest from one of my favorite companies right now. I am joined by Mark Kilens, the VP of Content and Community at Drift, and Brendan McManus, the Account Management Manager at Drift. Mark, Brendan, welcome to the community, guys.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Pumped to have you. And Brendan and Mark are in their brand new webinar studio. We were just talking about it. So is this the first time it's used?
It's exciting. It's got a fresh coat of paint right behind us.
It's a special day. All right. So, gentlemen, every time we do one of these, I do like to just add a little bit more color to our guest backgrounds, just so people know where we're all coming from. So, Mark, I'll start with you, man. Do you want to just give us the quick, baseball card of how you got to Drift, what you've been doing at Drift, and kind of some career stats today?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in digital marketing, supporting sales teams and customer success teams / account management teams for more than 10 years. I was at HubSpot. That was my last company for about 8.5 years. My claim to fame at HubSpot is building HubSpot Academy. It's a free online content and learning destination, I would call it. So check it out if you haven't. They got dozens of certifications, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of content, thousands of videos. So I joined Drift because this conversational marketing movement and this conversational sales movement that we want to talk to you folks today about is, I think, probably one of the biggest things that is going to ever happen to marketing. And it truly can 10x your sales team's productivity. And I want to share that with you today.
I love it, man. And kudos on the HubSpot Academy. I remember. How long has that been around? It's been a while. I remember sorting through that a few years back when I'm trying to get my bearings on sales development and being an account executive and everything. It's a super helpful resource.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been like 7 years or so, 7 years. Nice. Brendan, though, fun fact with Brendan, as he introduces himself, he's one of the first Drift team members ever.
Yep. So my baseball card goes employee number 14, rep number 2. Before that, and I guess all in total, I've been a frontline rep in SaaS for 5 years. So the way that I'll be able to help you today is on a very tactical level. Your day-to-day, what your reps are doing, what their reps might be thinking. I've lived through all of it, and I'm really excited to join Mark and talk with you all about it today.
I love it. I love that we have the two different perspectives going on. We got the hyper tactical and then maybe some of the higher level, which is really cool. And Brendan, your story of being number 14 employee at Drift is just going to get more impressive as you guys continue to scale. Every time you tell that story, it's going to get crazier and crazier. That's cool, man. Okay, so before I kind of hand the reins off to you guys, I think it's important to frame this up and find out who we're talking to today. We had a ton of people registered for this one, 500 plus. And Sales Hacker, we largely get a sales audience, but sometimes there's operations, sometimes there's marketing. So we want to get a bit of a pulse on that. So we're going to do a really quick poll. And if you'll indulge us, we just want to know what best describes your role. Are you in sales? Are you in marketing? Are you in operations? Or are you, an owner / CEO? So we'll go ahead and launch that poll now. All right. And we'll give you guys, 10 to 15 seconds. Oh, here's a good question, actually. We already got a really good question as we wait for the results to come in. What's the #1 book you'd recommend to your SDRs? This is Nelson, the BD manager of Western Union. Nelson, what's up, man? Great question.
I mean, I got a book that anyone should read, but definitely sales and definitely marketing folks. Influence.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I got another one too, though. But why influence?
Well, #1, you're trying to understand people. It's all about people. That's where we start.
Yeah, it's these 6 principles.
Right.
Robert Cialdini, amazing book. I've read it 3 times. I have a copy on my desk. I reference it that much in our marketing. Ask Dave Gerhardt. Ask David Cancel. They're going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I love it. You can always count on the Drift guys to have good recommendations of books. That's a phenomenal book. And then more tactical ones. If you haven't read the Sales Development Playbook by Trish Bertuzzi, it's like a breakdown. I literally copied that when I made my first BD program, literally verbatim, and it worked. And then Sales Acceleration Formula, Mark Roberge, formerly of.
That was the one I was going to recommend. I worked with Mark for like 7 years.
Yeah, that one's pretty wicked as well. It gives you a really good, even if you are a BDR, it gives you a good picture of like how the whole thing works. So it's a good one. Cool. All right. So we'll close the poll now. Ending. All right. So just kind of as suspected, large portion coming from sales. We got 77% coming from sales. That makes sense. We're a sales hacker. We've got 7% coming from marketing, 12% coming from operations, and then 5% is that CEO and owner.
All right. Let's dive in, eh?
Let's make it happen, guys. I'll let you drive. Let's do it.
So the first thing we want to talk about with you folks is this old way, new way. And we're going to get very deep and tactical in today's broadcast. We got a lot of examples that Brendan has pulled, but this sets the stage. We believe that customers, buyers, we as consumers have all the control now. I think about something that you last bought. What did you recently buy, Brendan? That was like a considered type of purchase, would you say?
Yeah.
What was something that you bought, do you think?
Yeah. Lots of stuff. Electronics.
Expensive.
Computer.
Yeah, computer, right?
Yeah.
Like, did you even have to talk to anyone to buy the computer?
No, I mean, I did a whole bunch of research myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you engaged on your terms.
Right.
It was your timeline, right? It was probably impersonalized to your needs in some way, especially if you use one of the big or bigger e-com sites,
yep.
Right? And like B2C has figured this out, right? The really good, even decent B2C companies have figured this out. B2B is lagging behind.
Yep.
And you should think about your sales process as you listen to this broadcast in that lens. It's, yes, changing your sales process so you can achieve that 10x productivity and ROI, but it's also really about changing the buying experience and the buying process that your buyers go through. And what we do now for our buyers, Brendan, is like this, right?
Yeah. Could you imagine doing this if you were buying a computer for yourself and then going through this process?
It would be insane.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Imagine buying like a sofa. Like I bought a new sofa online. Didn't even sit on the sofa. I bought a mattress, 2 mattresses online recently. Like I would land on a website, fill out a form, become a lead, get an email. Like this is insanity, right? And we do this a lot to our buyers. So if you're in sales, right? Where do you pick up in sales, right? You are probably picking up in the middle of this graphic,
yep.
The nurturing flow. Maybe you're picking up on the sales nurturing side using a tool like Outreach, right? Sales Loft, there's many of them. And that's one of the things, again, you should start to think about as we frame this for you. How conversational and how have you designed your sales nurturing flows, right? And that then starts the buying experience on your end, but how is marketing helping that buying experience at the same time? And that's what we want to help you change today because we're creating a lot of friction and frustration. Right? So
you want to talk about the old way of executing a sales process is basically broken.
Yeah, and I think everybody's lived through this. We have mostly sales folks on this call, so this is checking all the boxes that you have to go to, right? You're not thinking about what's going on in the buyer's mind. You're thinking about, I have to check off all these boxes and make sure you fill in all the gaps that I need to be able to say, great, now you can make your purchase or go and get the meeting that you want.
Think of it as pushing someone through a process versus like almost pulling them through it.
Cool.
Like, if you're pushing someone through this process by checking all these boxes, instead of you're trying to pull them through to an outcome that they desire. And they also are probably in many ways looking for a solution. Let me ask everyone the question right now because we want to engage with people on this webinar, Brendan. Head over to the chat pane. Are you selling a solution or maybe more of a tool? Or is it both? Like we sell a solution at Drift.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important way to think about what you're selling because that matters in how you design the process.
Cool. Yeah.
Let us know. Vince, solution. There you go.
Nice.
What does other people think? What do we got? I would love to know because if you're selling a solution, Juan, Joe, you're trying to help people buy now.
Yeah.
Like and understand why that solution is right for them. And if I go back to that slide, if you're trying to sell a solution using this, it's not going to work because think about how you buy. When you go to a website, you might be going to that website during offline hours, meaning you're not from 9 to 5. And if someone's not ready to engage with that buyer, if you're not ready to engage with that buyer, that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
completely. 1/3 of the people who we looked at is actually all Drift customers. 1/3 of those people across all of our customers have booked meetings between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. So not during normal business hours.
Yep.
It's crazy. So we built this framework. Let's get more tactical now. Brendan, do you want to walk people through this framework briefly, like at a high level, before we go deep into it?
Yeah, high level. I really want to make sure everybody, especially reps in the room, you take this away from this webinar today. Think about the conversational framework. It has 3 parts: engage, understand, recommend. Engage, understand, recommend. I want you like saying it in your sleep going forward. This is the framework that we're going to be talking about and showing you some examples for.
And this is how you help people buy. This can be used on the sales side, like we're going to talk about. We used it on the marketing side to basically say you're spending all this money getting someone to your website. How do you better engage with them on their terms to make it a little bit more personal? So when sales starts to have the conversation, you have it in a more personal, productive way. So let's go and unpack this right now.
Yeah.
So engaging. Who's using, well, that's not who's using, but I want to know who's on the sales development team versus like an account executive team.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's important.
Yeah. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any SDRs out there, let us know. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Any account executives, SDRs, BDRs, any of you folks using sales or doing sales today can use this, including marketers. But we're going to talk about it from a sales perspective, and we need some context though. So let us know in the chat pane. So Brendan, walk us through how you would use this if you're engaging with buyers using live chat to start with.
Yeah, and let's break this into pieces, right? So like really, really simple. When you're engaging somebody, the 2 things we want you thinking about is you're either introducing yourself if they're brand new, you know nothing about them, you have no data to go off of. But if you do have data to go off of, you should be welcoming them back. I always think about, imagine the best in-store experience that you have, right? That local place that you love where you walk in and they know who you are, they greet you by name, they know what you ordered last time, and it's an amazing experience, right? That's what this is all about. And so, of course, if you don't have any of that, you want to make sure all the new people get a really good experience too, so that's why you want to introduce yourself. Really simple.
And this is for live chat, but also if you're just having a sales conversation.
Same thing.
You were in sales. Yeah, you were in sales for 5 years. How would you do it if you're doing it via Zoom or in person? Like, what would you do?
So yeah, same exact thing, right? So number one, again, if you know them in some way, and of course, maybe they're a former customer who's coming back or you have a connection, all the best reps in the room know this. You're trying to make some kind of connection that you can build off of as you go forward through your process.
Yeah, and I think it's about being prepared.
Yeah.
And I think this is also applied to, or can be applied to sales outreach in terms of a sequence. Like if you're trying to engage someone in a sales sequence, how are you trying to do that in a way that is interesting and valuable?
Exactly.
Like not in a generic way that you see over and over again. And we have examples.
Yeah.
This is though specific to how you do it with live chat.
Yeah.
Again, a sales development team, how do you make sure every single introduction is more meaningful than just hello?
Yeah, it has to be something value add, right? And so as you're thinking about being there on time, on their time. Response time, of course, does matter. So we'll talk about that. But you want to make sure you're addressing something that matters to them, right? So using a live chat example, if you notice that they're looking at a particular page, you probably want to ask them about that, right? You're not just going to keep it generic.
What content they just look at.
Right.
Maybe you could even reference, you know that you were talking to someone else at that business before.
Right.
You could bring that up. So there's a couple ways you can do it. Once you engage with them, it's about understanding more about them, but it's also helping them understand more about you.
Right.
I think you really have to think about the conversational framework as a friendly game of catch.
Yeah.
A conversation should feel like that. You're passing the ball back and forth. I hope this is feeling like
and
this.
can I say one thing about this? This is the one part that every rep skips over at the beginning. And to be totally real with you, I did too.
What do you mean?
I would go in and I would engage people and I would, do my thing right at the beginning. And then I would skip right over to, so do you want to book a meeting? Do you want to talk to me? Because that's how I got comped, right? And let me know if you're gold on, meetings and pipeline too. But it's so easy to skip over this part. But it's also so simple to actually do it, right?
Yes.
Just ask a little bit more about, you mentioned you're trying to do this. I just want to make sure I have this right. Can you clarify that for me? And then why is that important to you right now? Like what's going on in your company? Those are the really small things that the best reps do that separate them from the people who just lose people.
And I think, again, this can be applied to the first, second, fifth meeting in a sales process.
Right.
It definitely requires a lot more preparation because you should know a lot more about the buyers that are involved in that meeting. But at the end of the day, almost always they're going to have questions. Come prepared to know what questions they might be asking, or come prepared and even more prepared than you could be with the questions they asked you last time that you're following up on.
Right.
I just think the preparation in sales has gotten better. It still could be better though.
Yeah.
So here's an example again of how to do it from like a more live chat standpoint. They are probably chatting in because they have a question.
Right. And most importantly too, it's okay if you don't know the answer, right? Mm-hmm. And I think especially, maybe if you sell a really technical product, let us know, because I think sometimes, when I was first getting started, if there was something I didn't know the answer to, I would, my first reaction would be, oh, I have to pretend like I do, or to come up with some kind of answer. Yeah. And that's totally normal. It's really okay if you don't know the answer, because you can give them a good experience by saying something like, hey, I don't know the answer to that right away, and truly own that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the right person follows up with you. And maybe it's a technical resource. If you're quarterbacking resources for people that way, that's how you not only give them a great experience, but you're going to convert them too, because you need their contact information to be able to follow up like that.
And I love Nelson's comment. He received a personal video from Haley at Drift. That's nice. Great. Personal, right? She probably engaged in a very unique personal way.
Yeah.
Maybe with a whiteboard, maybe with some type of prop, maybe with something like she printed out your website, whatever, something unique.
That's
instead
amazing.
Of right, instead of just a face.
So cool.
But then in the video, she's probably asking a question or two contextual to your business. And Nelson, let us know if this happened. And that's helping you think about, maybe this company, this solution could help me.
Yeah.
And then she probably recommended a next step, which is the next piece. But before we do that, I want to hit one more point. You have to understand the deeper why. Because if you just book a meeting, I think, Brendan, for your account executive team or the account executive you're partnered with, and you don't get any context, is that going to be a good meeting? Or if you don't do enough understanding, I feel like it affects the show rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because you don't feel understood. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? If you feel understood, you're happy to take the next step because, hey, these people can actually help me do what I'm trying to do within the context of my larger company. And this is something, if there are AEs who are on here, let us know what you think about this. But that would, drive me as an AE crazy if I feel like, oh, sure, I have these other things checked off, but I don't understand a bigger initiative about what's going on in their company, what they're trying to do that I can speak to sell a solution.
It's a great point. I love it. And I love Courtney's comment. The separation is in the preparation.
Oh, nice. That's great. I hadn't heard that before. That's great.
And just quickly there, gentlemen, I've got a question because I get it all the time. And it's very much in the world that you guys live in. And you mentioned in one of your slides, like pay attention to response time. Obviously, super, super important. You guys have a ton of data on this, I would assume. Do you know how quickly we're supposed to be responding? Do you guys have that data, and can you share it with the community?
Yeah, I mean, we do. Do you want to say some things on that?
Yeah, so just a couple quick notes. One is that it's faster than we thought. So I think in the past we thought, hey, if it's within 5 minutes, it's good.
Yeah.
It's really more like less than 2,
Yeah.
and ideally less than 1.
Yeah.
So that would be step 1, I would say.
I agree. I mean, best in class is between 15 and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
But I think about it, like if you're engaging with someone and as a buyer and you don't see any type of response back, any type of engagement within 30 to 60 seconds, where's your attention going?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know, even if 30 seconds or less, I don't know.
Well, and I think that, so the best way to test this too is go someplace and chat in and count to 30. It'll drive you absolutely insane. And I think just to touch on the why really quick, it's because of, if you think about everything that we're used to today, we can push a button and, you know, food gets delivered from across town. We can push a button and you know, a Mercedes S-Class shows up. And then all of a sudden I'm trying to chat in to, you know, a software provider, and then they don't respond to me for, you know, a minute. If Uber takes a minute to, you know, tell you about your car, it would drive you insane, right? And so what's important to understand is where your buyers are coming from and what the mindset is today, because it directly impacts your results.
They've been trained.
Yeah, totally. We live in a world full of goldfish now. We're all just like 30-second attention spans, and that's it. And then lastly, just want to hammer home Nelson's point for all the BDRs and SDRs out there. You know, obviously Haley Taylor from Drip is using LinkedIn video. I think it's a super underrated channel right now. Super underrated. Most people have like a Vidyard or a bomb and they're hitting you on the email. But LinkedIn, you can actually drop a video in messages. And I probably get 30 messages a day on LinkedIn and there's no videos in there. So if there's a video, I'm clicking on it. It's definitely a good way to get attention right now. So thanks for that, Nelson.
That's
and
a great
Haley.
point, Scott. Yeah. No, it's great. It's awesome. And then this is the final step in this framework. And remember, the framework, if you look back at it, and you'll have the copy of these slides too, it's double-sided arrows going around all these things.
Yeah.
Because you might go,
Continuous,
you know, you might have a recommendation in the chat or in the conversation, and you go back to understanding, so you have another question,
Right.
or they have a question, right?
Yeah.
So think of recommendations as, there's maybe one final recommendation, but there could also be micro recommendations.
Yeah.
And there should be like micro recommendations, and we'll explain what that is in a moment. But really, there's two things there. You're either sharing something, or especially if you're a BDR, but even a good account executive, Brendan, you're going to schedule the next call.
Yeah.
Or schedule the time for the,
Gotta have
you know,
next step.
look, you have 48 hours to execute this order form. Right? Like, let's schedule a time to get that done.
Yep.
So there's always that next step. So on the share side, what are some tips you have for people in terms of sharing good recommendations that people will find valuable?
Yeah. So I think the best thing to think about, and any SDRs will know that, any SDRs, BDRs will know this feeling, right, is somebody who's early in their process, right? At the very beginning, you're trying to push to meetings right away, and someone is just starting their research phase. And so the thing that I always recommend to people is that if you help them in just a little way right at the beginning and bring them back, they're much more likely to continue with you. You've earned their trust, obviously. And you do that by doing a couple things. One is providing resources for them. And by that, I mean a particular post that's very relevant to them. Again, a lot of this is really dependent on how good you are at the understand section about exactly what you're trying to do. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a second.
Yep.
Really relevant content is what matters. And the last takeaway is get them to come back. Once you get them to come back, they're much more likely to convert. And so just to give you like a secret little insider tip, a secret little insider tip is that what people have figured out is some of the people who we work with here is if you are able to create 3 separate conversations with somebody within a given month, they are 50% more likely to close in that month, which is insane. Obviously that depends on your business and all this other stuff, but like the takeaway for you, especially for reps, is that like I think lots of reps try to get it all at once, right? Like I have one shot to convince you of all these things, when in reality, if you engage them, understand what they're trying to do, and recommend next step, and think of it as a cycle where you're bringing them back over a short period of time, that's how you can get really good.
Don't always go to this step, which is scheduling a meeting.
Right.
Like, don't do that. Think about this. And I actually think the other half the battle of recommendations is knowing what you could recommend.
Yeah.
Spend time as sales folks, please. This is me, the marketer, now talking. And if your marketing team's not doing a good job at this, tell them, and shame on them. They need to empower you and enable you to understand all the content, all of the positioning, all the messaging that is available for them to use as part of this recommendation part of the framework.
Yeah, internally that's huge. Absolutely.
Super important.
Yeah. So, and actually, Nelson, just tying this back to influence, we talked about at the very beginning, right? Mini commitments that you can get as you're going through your process. That's how you can actually really convert people. And just to make it real, like one thing that Mark has done for our team here internally is organize all of this content for us. So whenever we see a situation, we know exactly where to go, bang, we use that during the process.
Yeah, I do it by the type of buyer, the persona, and the stage at which they're at.
Next level, yeah.
So I try to help out. And then if you're going to schedule time, I mean, this is the only thing you'll see in terms of like a drift screenshot of this entire presentation. But basically, it's that easy. You can just drop in your calendar, right? I mean, it's going to be bam, there you go, connect it, and off you go. You could also do this for your AE, right? So like this is actually showing the AE's calendar instead of booking with you, because maybe that's not the motion you have at your business. You can schedule time right with the AE.
Right, bam, right there.
Any questions before we move on and show examples and go through some more pro tips about this conversational framework? Engage, understand, recommend.
We got a few here, and I want to get another one. So Nelson, thank you for the engagement, man. You got some great questions.
Yeah, that's great.
So this one is, if the prospect is keen but isn't the decision maker, should SDRs ask permission to outreach to other stakeholders and influencers to help build momentum? Brendan, I'm going to shoot this one over to you. Gears in sales. What do you do? Do you just go ahead and do it? Do you ask for permission? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think this is a great question that actually directly relates to the old way versus the new way. I think in an older mindset of older school sales, all you care about is talking to the decision maker because all decisions get made top down. When the reality of today, I think there are many more influencers involved throughout the process. We see this all the time internally. And so to directly answer your question, yes, I would. And you want to make that person, even if it's just a small touch point where you add value to them, that person is going to be much more likely to either introduce you to that person or do something else to give you some information to move forward in the process.
It speaks to the slide.
Exactly. So the answer is absolutely yes, you should. Yep.
I totally agree there. And I think the average, it keeps going up. Every time I look at it, the average buying team goes up. I think it's at like 6.8 or something now. So it's just to grow. So build that web, engage with as many people as possible, not only so you can get in the decision maker, but it's amazing if you don't get in front of someone, how quickly someone can derail the deal. We've all been in those meetings where one person's like, I heard that sucked. And then it just kills the whole thing. Like I heard one person say one time, that wasn't a good piece of software or whatever. And then it's dead in the water. And it's just because you didn't get in front of them, add some value and shape their thinking a little bit.
And really quickly on that, Topo, has a great study that just came out about exactly that based off of average contract value.
Nice.
It's fascinating. I think it goes up to, I think it's over $100,000 in ACV. The amount of people involved, I believe it was between 8 and 14.
Wow.
And we're actually going to do a blog post about the Topo report. I actually just wrote it, and it's going to be published soon, so head out to the Drift blog to check it out. But Topo's got a ton of information about that, Scott.
Yeah. Love Topo.
Great question.
Last question. I got a clarifying question because I thought what you said was amazing, Brendan, was this idea of reframing your mindset as a BDR or an AE to look for 3 different conversations in a month versus trying to push them down. We're pulling them into 3 conversations. Is that, and you said it goes up by like 50% or something like that. Is that 3 convos via chat, or is that 3 different convos in any channel? Whatever omni-channel approach you're doing, could be LinkedIn, could be phone, could be whatever.
Exactly. So so it's across mediums. And so again, let's think about the why behind this as well, because I'm sure, if you sell a very technical product, obviously that's going to be longer, right? And so, but for all these different people who are going through it, right? Again, think about real people and how they actually behave.
Yes.
Right. They take 5 minutes out of their day and they say, oh, I just had a meeting about this thing and I got to get this question answered. And so they pop in and all they care about is getting that answer. And then they're going to leave and come back. And that's totally okay. Right. And I think we fall into the trap sometimes of thinking if you don't capture him right away, you don't convince that person, that buyer, that decision maker right away, you've somehow lost, when in fact, it's just how people behave today.
Mm-hmm. That's super interesting. I could see that being a more productive leading indicator than just your activity metrics, right? Like how many touches have you had? How many interactions have you had with this given person? If they're at 2 and it's, 2 weeks into the month, we're like, oh, that might be an op because we've got 2 already.
Exactly. And so for any ops geeks who are listening to this too, like this is the type of stuff that you can start to be really smart about, right? Where if you start seeing conversations in a shorter and shorter period of time, they're probably in a buying cycle where they're going to go and do it, right? And if they're going to come in and all of a sudden multiple people from the same organization come in all at once to come check it out, there's probably something going on there. So this is how you can really help out your sales team.
Spot on.
Wicked. All right, I'll shut up now. I know we got a lot to get through.
Let's look at some examples. So you got a ton of examples in this deck.
Let's make it real. Yeah.
Here we go. So that's the framework, just as a high level. And yes, Emily, it is being recorded. You'll get the recording. Scott's going to email it to everyone. So engage. Let them know you're there. Introduce yourself. And I think be yourself. I think we haven't talked about number 3 yet.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's really big. So I guess let's talk about what often people get wrong and why people leave, right? So again, I always think about it as an in-store experience. Imagine if somebody, in a store that you walk into says like, greetings, like, what can I help you procure today? And obviously that's an extreme example, but if you're not human and mentioning something, basically a robot could do it.
Yep.
And so what you're really trying to do is be yourself and find what's so great about talking with humans is that they find connections, and that's what they really crave. And so when you go in and you find something that you're interested in or you have some kind of connection over, that's what you're ultimately searching for, right? And so it's really easy to, and this is especially true when you're talking with larger companies, right? To fall into a robotic way of being, but we really recommend against that. And you'll see some of this in these examples.
This one is just fun.
Yeah.
And obviously this one's very cheeky, but like you could do this in a non-cheeky way too, right? We have a couple of examples here, but this one is really just smooth and engaged. Like look how fast that person engaged, right? I think it was like less than 30 seconds.
Right.
That's amazing. We finally meet. Happy man, here we go, right?
Exactly.
Any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and you see this transition from engaging them, calling out the right things, responding right away, and moving directly into the understand section.
And Adam didn't even ask a question yet.
Yeah.
He just like, what brings you to Drift today?
Yeah.
Like the websites. Super interesting. Here's another one. You want to break this one down?
Yeah, so really simple. Again, we're just trying to think about what are the things that you want to look for. So like SDR managers, if you're looking at this, SDR directors, these are the types of things that you want to look for. So number one, are they using the data that they have available to them and calling that out to make a connection right away? Because once you start a back and forth conversation between 2 real people, that's what hooks them. That's, hey, somebody's actually here to actually help me out.
This one's great because it starts with a bot.
Yeah.
A bot is having a conversation with another human, another buyer, and then I jump in actually.
Right.
I'm playing the SDR in this case.
Yeah.
And how do you like, why do you like this conversation specifically? Because it looks like the engagement time is good, less than a minute, but what else?
It calls out the things that the bot has already collected. So like if you're going through and you're buying something, you hate it when somebody asks you, you have to repeat yourself over and over again. It's a terrible experience.
Terrible.
So you want to call that out all the time, no doubt.
Love it. Another one.
Cool. So let's look at an example of the inverse, right? Like where somebody comes into this and then they got it wrong. So as you can see here, again, just to drill home the concept, right? Number one, Mark in this case jumped in and just had a generic response. Hey there, Mark here, like, what's going on? So he asked immediately, what's your role at Drift? But Julie has already given him that information, right? These are the types of little things that people get wrong and why you end up losing these deals.
And it took me 2 hours to engage.
And
that's not going to help. I mean, yeah, they might get notified that you're now online to talk to them, but like, wow, that is painful.
Yeah.
That is painful. This is pretty good. But again, I think the engagement is lacking to some degree.
Exactly. Like it sounds like this is somebody who could be anywhere, not really listening to what's going on, good morning, how can I help you today, right? Instead of saying, hey, look, I saw that you just said a few lines up that, hey, you're researching, I'm worried that my business is wasting time and money. Like, any good salesperson should be jumping all over this, right? What's going on with you? Tell me more. Like, I'd love to help you out. That person is live on your website right now. I know that's like a chat way of looking at this, but even if you heard this on the phone or an email, you got to be asking about this stuff.
Yeah, I think people don't pay enough attention to the triggers.
Yeah.
There's like small triggers.
Yeah.
I agree. So that's some engaging examples. Any questions about any of those examples? Like how to engage? So there's a couple of ones where the bot started the conversation and then the SDR or BDR came in. There was one where like there was live chat just on the website. It really doesn't matter like how it happens. You just have to make sure you use relevant information and don't jump in with a generic question and don't jump in by not being human.
Yeah.
I love those. And we'll go quickly to a question because it kind of ties in. So this question from Bobby. Bobby, thank you for the question. For products with a long life cycle, so I imagine that's a long deal cycle, how often should you check in on a prospect after a conversation?
Yeah.
So let's say someone comes, you have a chat conversation with them, maybe they go dark. How often are you checking in?
Yeah. So I love this question because this gets all the way back and we're on the right slide for it. Understand, right? When you end up chasing somebody, and I think this is a really good takeaway, if you find yourself or one of your reps chasing somebody, it's because they missed on understanding them. So for example, this always happens. You end up chasing somebody, you don't know what the next step is. When you think they're further down the funnel than they are, and you keep saying, hey, like, aren't we gonna book that meeting? When instead, if you had asked more questions just about them, right? Like it's, hey, great, what are you hoping to do? What's going on at your company? Why is that important to you right now? You'll get all of that timeline information, that pain information, how their internal processes work that you can reference later when you're creating a work back plan for a really complex product, right? So again, always come back to understanding, right? If you're chasing, you miss them. You don't understand them well enough.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great point. So if you ever feel like you're chasing it, look back at your discovery, and that is where the problem is.
You got it.
And ideally too, Bobby, add little on there is, and you mentioned it, Brendan, like ideally you make that process with them, right? Like make a mutual access plan with them and get that next step while you're having that first conversation so that you don't have to chase.
You got it.
Yeah, and that's supposed to go to the recommendation.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Nice. Engage, understand, recommend. Let's go. Perfect. So really quick on this example, we wanted to show you an example. This happens all of the time. So have a quick look at this. And this is an example of something gone wrong, right? So as you can see here, a prospect named Kate jumped in and said, hey, what other companies are using Drift? And Eve did a couple things right? So number one, Eve jumped right in and said, hey, look, I'm going to name drop a whole bunch of other companies that use us. But where did she miss? What she missed is asking clarifying questions to better understand Kate. Kate, what exactly are you trying to do? If I understand better what you're trying to do, I can actually pull out even more relevant examples for you so you can see exactly what you're trying to do.
Use cases,
right? It's got to be real this way. Eve, and I've done this myself, right? You're so excited to say, hey, this seems like a potential buying question. Let me get you on the phone right away. And then they ghost you. This is exactly what happened.
Kate never responded back. It just ended.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's tough stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about recommend briefly, because I don't want to waste too much time, and we have more slides to come, and we'll get you folks out of here in the next 10 minutes. What do you like about this? I actually, there's like multiple things in here that are good and some things that could be improved.
Yeah, definitely. So pricing is always an interesting topic, right? Because I know for lots of teams, right? And tell me, tell us how you handle pricing conversations on your teams. Lots of times folks won't let their SDRs have those pricing conversations. So it's like, hey, I really got to get you talking to somebody else before I do that. And so we also have a completely transparent pricing page. Other businesses really don't. But for us, as you can see, what we think went well here was Eve answered that person's question right away. asked for more information about exactly what she needed. And as you can tell here, she figured out right away that Robin, in this case, needed to forward something to her boss. And so this was all really good examples where she understands a little bit more about the process. And I agree, she could have done more in here to further understand that. Yeah. But again, this is the type of stuff that we want you looking for when you're having these conversations.
I'll just say one thing, because it pains me. If you have a pricing page, and I hope you do, even if it's like not specific pricing, like you got to have something about pricing on your website. Ideally, you're somewhat transparent, if not fully transparent. It would be insane, Brendan, not to have a bot or live chat, like a human, behind the bot, on that page.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Why I say that? Why do I say that? Why do I say that? Do you think? Like, why?
I personally think it's a great idea. It's a great idea as well. But that's like, again, think about in the store example, right? Somebody's looking at your menu, they're probably going to buy something from you. And so you want to be there, or they're thinking about it, right? You want to be there to help them out.
It's like the intent on that page. Yeah, the intent. Attention's on the page. The person who's on the page has high intent. I would say 1 out of 20 should be probably way higher than that. Probably is. Will have a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you tell me how this works? Or like, oh, I'm not quite sure about this. And this is how you're helping them that process. Right? This is why that transparency is so massive.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And we got a pro tip here.
Yeah.
Some managers I think are listening.
Yeah.
You must do this.
Yeah, you have to do this. And actually, so Nelson, I think I saw before that you might have asked a question about what are some good ways to motivate folks on your team. Yeah. The best way to motivate everybody is to show them wins, show them what good looks like, because everybody sees that example and says, great, I'm gonna do more to be just like that person. And so if you don't share really good conversations internally where they got all the qualifying information they needed, they got the next step in the process, folks won't know exactly what to look for, right? So the best thing you can do is have real tangible examples and celebrate the people who are able to give people those great experiences to share these conversations back and forth.
We got two great questions. John's an AE.
Yeah.
Awesome. And his BDRs are compensated by a demo showing.
Yeah.
Not conversation scheduled, but conversation held. That's fascinating. So what do you think? How can he help the SDRs, in this case, get more qualified demos?
Yeah.
How can they improve the show rate?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's huge, right? So number one, I would always go back to understand, right? You really people will show up if they feel understood.
Yep.
And they feel like you're going to solve their problems. Number one, I would go back to understand, and I would go back to preparation, right? So this just gets back to, the core things of selling and booking meetings. You are, what all the best SDRs, what they'll do is they will follow up 24 hours in advance, asking to make sure we have everything right for the agenda. Let's make this as useful as possible for you to make sure you're actually there and you'll show up. And then number two, sending them a quick note the day of saying, hey, really excited to talk with you. Let me know if anything's changing.
I think what's missing from this slide, because it's like definitely do this.
Yeah.
Because then they felt like heard and then they understand a little bit more and you added some value to them. That's great. But it's also not only did they leave with their questions answered, did they leave with concrete next steps? Mm-hmm. And I see some of the best SDRs saying, this is what the AE is going to be able to show you and talk to you about. Like, say that as an SDR. Like, bring it to the next level during that conversation. Right. That's like really deep. I don't see a lot of SDRs doing that at all today.
No, that's huge.
Like, so great. You're going to be talking to so-and-so. Name drop the AE. Yeah. Great. He or she is going to be helping you with these things. Great. Does that sound okay? Okay, we'll have a follow-up right before the call by email. Fantastic. Here we go.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that question that you had about this is a specialist who takes care of all these things. He or she's going to be able to answer all those questions for you. All that.
I love that. Sell the AE.
Right.
Sell the AE. All right. Let's see what else we have. Any other questions?
We got a few here. All right. Are we ready for questions? We got a little bit more on the deck. We ready for questions?
We could take one more question right now. I think this Nelson question is really good, Scott.
It's a good one. Yeah. I love this one. Do you have SDRs join the AE call? I've got feelings about this. Would love to hear you, gentlemen.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, but personally, I would vote for yes because it's additional context and it's also a warmer handoff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Scott?
100%. Yeah, I think it's shocking when this doesn't happen. And if you're so worried that, I don't want to have my BDR, SDR off the phone for 30 minutes or whatever, at least get them on for the first like 10. Let them set the stage. Let them do the recap. Because if you don't, it's kind of what we talked about earlier here in chat. When you've already given information and then you got to regurgitate it again. Because AEs will always want to set the stage again, even if they have a whole whack of notes. So get the BDR to, set the stage, make that warm and fuzzy introduction. They feel, much better that way. And then the byproduct of that too is your SDRs get a lot more knowledge of the product as well. Sitting in demos.
So good. No, and Emily, we're gonna answer that question at the end. We're like 5, maybe not even 5 more minutes of slides. It's a great question about this inbound versus outbound motion. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Yeah. And it actually has to do with this slide because when you're doing outbound and cold outreach, they might not respond to that phone call or probably more likely email or LinkedIn message or video that you sent them. They might, but I bet a lot of the times they'll come back to your website at some point. Yeah. And if you're not ready to start a conversation with them on your website, you missed it. Yeah. So anyway, that's a whole other thing, right? Let's see, here's just an example of a chatbot, just to give you folks, if you're not sure what a chatbot is, an example. The chatbot's actually engaging with them, doing some understanding, right? They just ask a qualifying question. And then it's like, hey, let me loop in my SDR team. Yeah. Boom. Like right there, right? Again, if someone's on this page, right? And in this case, it has a form. So we're saying like, hey, skip the line, go right to a human. That's how the bot is engaging with someone. Skip the line, go right to a human. This is a high intent page. Yeah. Like pricing page, demo page, consultant page. I think we've drained this into your heads, hopefully, folks. Like we've really drilled it into your heads. Be human. Yeah. And surprise and delight. Like have fun. Yeah. Use GIFs. Yeah. Use GIFs if you want on chats. Let's just quickly talk about this and then we get to the questions. Because I think we've had some questions about teams, Brendan. Yeah. How do you align the teams?
Yeah, so I think a really good, one of the ways that I think about conversations is that like internally it's also the ultimate data set and it's the ultimate decider, right? So for example, everybody, and I'm sure everybody's, had this experience, right? You're sitting in meetings, one person has their own opinion, another person has another. Mm-hmm. How do you move forward? Yes. When you have a customer conversation in front of you or you're listening to it, from a call, that is the source of truth. You got to put the customer at the center of everything that you're doing. And then each different team can take actions around that. So I'll give you an example. If you on your SDR team are noticing that everybody who comes to your website is asking you about a particular competitor or how you compare to something else or a particular feature set, that's something that you can share directly with your marketing team with real data to be able to say, hey, we need to be able to clarify this or add more materials about this.
This just happened at Drift. Yeah. I'm not going to name what happened exactly, but this exactly just happened. Yep. And now I'm working on a piece of content, the team is, to address this. Yep.
Yeah, it's all about shortening that feedback loop.
I also think it's the AE and SDR team alignment from leadership down to the individuals has got to be there. Scott, you made the point. You got to have the SDR and the AE ideally on the call, or at least introducing. I would say, you and I talk about this all the time. I'm going crazy because this happens way too much. Like you think of it as a handoff. No, it's not a handoff. I'm not handing this buyer off to someone. I'm introducing them to someone. Cool. Like it's an introduction. Not a handoff. Yeah. I hate the word handoff. I'm sick of it. So anyway, those are some pro tips. There's a ton more. Like we covered maybe, what do you think? You and I wrote this actually. Yeah. So Brendan and I wrote this guide. Yeah. It's free. You can get it right there. But there's probably an 80% more that we cover in this guide.
A lot more detail in there.
Ton more detail. Check it out. It's free. But we have questions. Feel free. Let's go.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's dive into it. And first off, gentlemen, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge. Make sure everyone checks out that book. All right. So we kind of hit on this one, but let's dive further into it. So Brendan, you're a manager. So motivation's a big part of your role, I imagine. What are some good friendly competition/games to motivate your SDRs? You guys do any cool spiff things, any fun things to keep it exciting? Because it can be a difficult job. We all know.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's a real example. Like how many teams or sales teams have problems with things being, waiting until the end of the month or something. Like you want to get off to a fast start. Like how about we put it that way, right? So what we did was we had a very short term. We actually just started doing this today. This just happened in our own internal Slack channel for our team today, where we said, hey, look, whoever gets to this particular goal this early in the month and is able to produce these numbers, we're going to have an experience. I think it's really important to tie any type of reward to an experience, whether you're learning something or you're doing something together with another group of people. That's what we did. So we said, hey, here in Boston, you'd be able to, do a little activity together, just that small group of people who performed within that short window. So I guess a good takeaway there would be, make it small and experience and learning focused.
Exclusive.
Yes. Love that.
Exclusive too.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
key.
Yeah. I love that. Exclusive. And then, I see all the time and I hear all the time, the peer recognition is massive for millennials and some of the younger generations. So anytime you can put them on a pedestal in front of your peers, that motivation goes really far.
Yeah. I really agree with that. And just to make it real too, so what we do is whenever somebody has a really great customer story to tell, the following weekly meeting, we feature that one person. And that's the best possible thing. Each rep puts a lot of work into it because they own creating the slides and telling the story about exactly what they did well. That's a great way to have them own that success and be really excited about it.
That's wicked. That's a great example. All right. Here's another one. I like this one. I can guess the answer to this at Drift, but which medium has your team achieved the most success? Phone, email, LinkedIn, chat. What is it?
Yeah, I think we can. Yes, but no. So it's but it's not.
Let's go second.
You need all of them, right?
You do need all. I think it's by far chat and chat, email, LinkedIn in that order. Email, LinkedIn, depending on the vertical and the type of person you're going after. It's very dependent. The reason chat's so good, is because attention. The person has the attention on your business. They're on your website. They're on some page. If they're on a high intent page, you better be there and ready to act. It's that simple. I mean, because if you're not, they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to go to a competitor probably, or I might never come back, or I'm going to come back and you still won't be ready to engage with me. So it's like, I don't know. I think chat is by far the most because it's such high intent. But this question about inbound versus outbound motions.
Yeah.
How you think about using the conversational framework for an outbound motion, Brendan?
Exactly.
How do you think about that though? Like when you're cold outreaching?
Yeah, there are really two parts to it. So one is thinking about the goal of the cold outreach. The goal of the cold outreach is not to book a meeting right away. The goal of the cold outreach is to start a conversation. So like, let me give you a real example. And we actually did this, right? So we were sending a whole bunch, we were, calling and we were sending all these emails that people, weren't saying anything to. But when we started asking really simple questions, that's what gets folks to engage. And then from there, you go into, oh, well, interesting. This is what, so like a good example would be, oh, why is such and such this way on your website? The best way to engage a marketer is ask them about their website. Right? If you say, hey, do you want to book a meeting with me? They get 1 million of those a day, right?
I'm telling you, this is genius. Because think about how we communicate today. Messaging.
Yeah.
Short messages, almost never incomplete sentences. Send an email if you're an SDR, BDR, that is one line with no capitalization. I bet you will get higher response rate than sending an email that's your standard template.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah. 100%. So that's one. And then Emily, getting back to your question too. So when you do that cold outreach, the goal is to start a conversation, not book a meeting. And then because once you start a conversation, then of course you can recommend that if that makes sense. And then on the what Mark said before. So the second part of this is if they do come to your website later after you make the call, after you send the email, you got to be there to engage them while they're there, in the 5 minutes that they take to research what you're doing, 100%. Whenever that happens.
Yeah. So something you said there fundamentally changed how I looked it up. So I was actually one of Drift's first customers way back in the day. I was running a BD team. Fundamentally changed how my team thought about outbound. We sold at the time a very complex product. And it was very technical, and getting a meeting off of just that call was very difficult. But when we reframed it as just basically putting a hook and getting them to be curious enough to come and check us out. And so it went from, hey, book a meeting to let's put a little, bomb in their head that is going to explode with curiosity and they're going to come to our website and we're going to be there right away. And that fundamental shift in outbound helped a lot. So any BD managers, SDRs, if you frame it like that, you'll definitely see the rewards. Okay, we probably have time for one more question. All right, we got a lot. And by the way, if you guys want to connect and continue this conversation, I know you guys are both on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Is that the best way to get at you? Emails? What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, there's emails right here too if you want. I mean, you could chat into Drift on the website. I want to talk to Mark.
Drift.me/B, you can chat me directly.
Exactly. So yeah, either way.
I love it. All right. Last question. Again, this is kind of about this inbound, outbound motion. How do you incentivize and motivate proactive outbound hunting versus passively waiting for inbound leads?
Yeah. Well, it's really, so you got to do, I mean, you got to do both. Number one, I would say you got to do both. And then number two, I think you incentivize it by showing the impact. So like, for example, if you know that if you're using a great tool like, outreach for outbound emails and sending your, scheduling everything that way and setting up your tasks and all that good stuff. You got to know what happens if they come to the website, because that's a great measure of intent.
I mean, this is where because I'm a metrics person, like deep, I would look at pipeline value.
Yeah.
Versus, these different motions.
Cool. Yeah.
What's more successful at the pipeline number? I might not go all the way to revenue, but I would think of the value of that lead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could look at also like sales length. You could look at ACV, you could look at other things, but I agree, you should do both.
Right.
It's tricky though.
Well, and I think in many ways, right, it's a measurement problem as well, because the people who you are outbounding visit in a different channel, even though it's the same person coming in and checking out what you're doing.
It's meta.
Yeah.
It's meta, but I think, again, if you're not in a position to engage with them, after all that money and time you spent on those outbound techniques or the ABM techniques, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. They could be at your website. I bought things from a business or tried to buy things from a business at night because I'm busy doing work or coaching my team or in leadership meetings, and I'm not going to be buying things from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Again, 1/3 of the people that use Drift book meetings between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m., like offline, out of office hours. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. That's an interesting stat there. 1/3 are out of office.
1/3.
Crazy.
All of our customers, Scott. That's like tens of thousands of meetings a month.
That's super interesting. Well, that's a cool place to end it. We'll end with that little tidbit. So if you're not addressing that you could be missing out on 1/3 of your customer base, which is insane. All right, Brendan, Mark, thank you, gentlemen, for hanging out with me. You guys are both a wealth of knowledge. We'll have to have you back for sure. And everyone, that was some of the best engagement I've seen. We literally got a ton of questions throughout. So thank you so much for being an amazing audience today. And I think for most of you, it's probably starting a new quarter. So go out there and 10x that sales development productivity and go out and crush it.
Thanks, everyone.